Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to University Roadshow at USM. A gentle reminder, please remember to mute your microphones to ensure that there are no interruptions throughout this talk. We will begin shortly at 2 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to University Roadshow at USM. A gentle reminder, please remember to mute your microphone to ensure that there are no interruptions throughout this talk. We will begin shortly. Announcement of our guest of honor for today, Yang Berusaha, Professor Dr. Ahmad Suhairi Abdullah, Dean of School of Chemical Engineering, Yang Berusaha, Dr. Masrina Muhammad Nadir, Advisor of Chess Club, Mr. Michael Ng Fu Yuen, Assistant Manager Science, Environment and Sustainability Division, MPOC, Ms. Yong Yen Lee, QA and QC Manager at IOI Edible Oils, SDN, Ms. Jacinta, President of CHESS, our lecturers of School of Chemical Engineering present today, and the audience. I'm Fiona Rochelle, your MC for today. A very warm welcome to everyone on behalf of all the committees of CHESS. It's so good to see everyone here today. As you all know, today's virtual event is organized by EXCO Academic of USM Chemical Engineering Student Society and supported by POP6. The roadshow aims to provide an understanding about the palm oil industry through a virtual site tour to IOI Edible Oils SEN, PhD, Malaysia. Without further delay, let us invite the Dean of School of Chemical Engineering, Professor Dr. Ahmad Suhairi Abdullah, to present his speech.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fiona Rochelle. I believe you can hear me, right? Can you hear
Yes, I
me?
can. Yes, I
In the
can.
first place, okay, thank you very much. Very good afternoon to all the audience, all the participants in this particular event. I'm Ahmad Zahri Abdullah, basically the Dean, School of Chemical Engineering. So on behalf of the school and on behalf of the Chemical Engineering Student Society, I'm welcoming all of you to this event. Right, so we're going to have a few activities during this event, and I believe the activities are well planned by the chess committee, and hopefully you can get some benefit out of this particular event. So basically here, of course, we should actually acknowledge the effort made by chess in order for you to organize this kind of event, even though it is done virtually. But I believe in terms of the benefit, in terms of the information that we can achieve or receive from this event, it could not be less than the normal way of doing it through our face-to-face discussion and meeting. But of course, here we have to work within the limitation that we have at the moment. And so I believe now it is a chance for us to have some kind of activity together with the representative from MPOC, Mr. Michael Ng Fu Yuen. He is the assistant manager there, Science, Environment and Sustainability. And another one is chemist Yen Lee. I believe all the way from Sandakan, if I'm not mistaken, right? So definitely here it is our chance to have a discussion, to have some kind of information sharing so that we can learn more about edible oil industry in Malaysia, particularly palm oil, because in Malaysia we are producing a lot of palm oil and it is actually a very big industry in Malaysia. So a lot of companies, a lot of players in this type of industry in Malaysia, and they could be the future employers to our graduates later. And as in the case of our alumni, many of alumni are currently working with them, employed by this type of industry. So I believe this is very relevant to you as a chemical engineer or chemical engineering student, because basically you are learning a lot about this type of industry. And in our curriculum, basically we have one specific course, EKC 358, only chemical processing. And I happen to be one of the lecturers for this particular course. So basically here we see the importance of this topic for us to really train our grad or students. And something that we deliver in class could be limited by our experience, by our networking, by our earlier activities with this type of industry, but definitely it might not be sufficient. So we want you to have some kind of information, relevant information from directly from the players, the person, the people who are really involved in this kind of industry, so that if you ask them question, definitely can answer you in a better manner. All right, for us, probably we know something, but definitely our knowledge could be limited because of we don't really deal with this type of industry on daily basis. But of course, this afternoon, I believe we can have activities, we can have some kind of question answer session with the speakers, Mr. Ng, Mr. Michael Ng, especially. And later on, we can have a chance to visit a plant, I believe, okay, oil palm plant somewhere in Sabah, if I'm not mistaken. Then definitely it could be a chance for us because during the 358 course last semester, we didn't really have a chance to visit or to arrange for a visit to any plant because of restriction caused by the COVID. And here, the main topic that we should be focusing on is sustainability, because in this industry, yeah, of course, it is a main one of the main commodities in Malaysia, but definitely we have to know that it is actually confronting some issues with regards to uh, the reservation that international markets actually have on this particular commodity, palm oil, particularly palm oil coming from Malaysia, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and so on, because there are a lot of issues related to the environmental pollution related to forest fire or extinction of endangered species are currently associated with this type of industry. So because of that, we have to know what is beyond the scope of your topic, something related to industry, environment, and all that, because sustainability is actually our main focus in chemical engineering curriculum. We have to actually address sustainability as well on top of the technicalities about the topic. And at the same time, we have to really open up our mind to international trend as well, particularly to a business related trend, because these industries are actually currently facing some problem with regards to the marketability of the commodity, because many industries, or especially many countries in the Europe, are currently distancing themselves away from palm oil. So we have to know what is the issue. We have to know in what way, okay, on top of the issue, in what way we can actually counter those reservation or resistance by certain international market related to this type of industry. So I believe that kind of information will be shared by one of our speaker, Mr. Michael Ng, right? Because he is very much into the sustain environment, okay, science, environment, and sustainability. So basically, it is his portfolio to deal with this in the MPOC, and definitely he may have some extra information on top of what you could have received earlier from any open literature or any course in our curriculum, right? So I will actually encourage all the participants. So far we have, oh good, 282 participants in this event. So which is actually a very good turn up for this event. So hopefully all will join the activities in this event from the beginning to the end, and hopefully you gain some benefit in a way. And at the same time, it could actually equip you with extra information about this industry. Who knows, later after your graduation, you could be venturing into this type of industry for employment. So at least you have more information. At least you can have more idea to talk when people ask you about palm oil, about sustainability, about environmental issues, and so on. So I believe without any further ado, basically I'm here representing the school, representing the chess. Okay, I would actually welcome all of you to this event. Thank you very much for your participation and effort to and also your time to this particular event, and hopefully you gain something. Hopefully you can actually have a good discussion this afternoon. Please feel free to ask as many questions as possible to the speakers, and also the person in charge for the virtual visit, so that you can have more information, and at the same time try to participate in the quiz session and also post event report competition. Okay, so please participate. Actually there is a cash prize, okay, that can be awarded to the winners. So hopefully some of you can actually put some effort. And during this effort, you can learn something, and hopefully with that, we can get the objective of the event achieved as much as possible. So with that, with that, I believe, thank you very much, and congratulations to chairs for successful organization of the event. Okay, thank you very much, and have a good discussion ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Suhairi, for the wonderful speech. Next, I would like to invite the advisor of Chess Club, Dr. Masrina Muhammad Nazir, to give us her speech.
Assalamualaikum and selamat sejahtera. A very pleasant good afternoon to all. Thank you for being with us today for the University Roadshow at USM, organized by USM Chemical Engineering Student Society and supported by IChemE Palm Oil Processing Special Interest Group. I was informed by the committee that we have more than 400 registered participants for this event, so I hope more participants will be coming in as the event progresses. We have participants from various academic institutions and industries in Malaysia, and as well as international participants. So to all the participants, I extend a warm welcome. And also on behalf of the University Chemical Engineering Student Society, I sincerely thank the IChemE Palm Oil Processing Special Interest Group for giving us the opportunity to organize the event and supported us making this event a grand success. Lastly, I hope this roadshow will benefit all the participants on understanding about the palm oil industry through the presentation by Mr. Michael Ng Fu Yuen from Malaysian Palm Oil Council, and also through the virtual site tour of IOI Edible Oil Sdn Bhd, Malaysia. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Masrina, for your wonderful speech. Without any delay, let me introduce you to our first speaker, Mr. Michael Ng Fu Yuen. Mr. Michael graduated from USM with a degree in Applied Science Biology and has now over 17 years of experience in managing environment and sustainability-based programs related to petrochemicals and palm oil industry, which includes sustainability certification, life cycle assessment, waste management, renewable energy, and wildlife conservation. He is currently the Assistant Manager, Science, Environment and Sustainability Division in the Malaysian Palm Oil Council MPOC. Without further ado, I would like to call upon Mr. Michael. Mr. Michael, the floor is yours.
Okay, first of all, thank you, Fiona, for your kind words. Professor Ahmad Zuhairi, Dean, School of Chemical Engineering, USM, Dr. Masrina. Thank you again for your kind words and the introduction that we have presented earlier. Indeed, it is a tall order to present a subject of such magnitude here, palm oil. In fact, when it comes to this particular content and topic, it would take hours, even days of debates, non-stop debates. It is one of the few topics here that is so polarizing, that is so controversial, depending on whom you're debating with, depending on whom you're speaking with. It's either pro-palm oil or anti-palm oil. Very few you have fence-sitters. So again, a very tall order indeed for me to present to the students here in USM. Just one thing that I want to add here, it feels like a homecoming for me as well. If you may notice, like some of you may notice in my introduction, I am one of the USM alumni, School of Biological Sciences, Applied Sciences. And this feels like coming back to USM. Yeah, it's been a while, but I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad to be presenting to my fellow USM students and future employees in the palm oil industry. So with that said and done, let me start my sharing and presentation. Yeah. All right, before I start, is everything clear? Is the presentation showing as it should be?
Yes, everything is clear, Mr. Michael.
Okay. So what I'm about to share with you today is a journey, palm oil sustainability journey. So I understand I have half an hour. And again, for me to do justice on this topic within half an hour would be a very tough order in fact, indeed. So what I will try to do within today's session is just three parts. Number one is to okay, I'm sorry. It seems that my presentation is missing already. So let me reshare this again.
No worries.
Okay. Okay. So all right. So yeah, as I've said, I'll try to spend this half an hour giving you a slight, more of an overview of the journey that the Malaysian palm oil industry has taken, and as in particular the certification systems. Why is this so important in the industry? Yeah. So firstly, the background. This is about 2 decades ago, about 20 years ago. So what we have seen is that, number one, global population is increasing. And because of the need for the industries, for the agricultural commodities to meet the rising demand for food, feed, or even biofuels, right? Agricultural commodities have been expanding all over the globe. And palm oil is no exception. So what has happened is that when this is happening, you see a situation where more forested area, more land has been converted for agricultural use. And this has led to a number of sustainability issues when these particular conversions are not done in a sustainable manner. So here is a particular figure that shows you the impacts of the various commodities that has impacted deforestation. And cattle, this is the one in dark blue, is one of the significant causes when it comes to deforestation around the world. Next will be the impacts on the environment, in particular biodiversity. So there is one commonality here. If you notice here, all the number of animals and species around the world has been threatened because of the expansion by the agricultural sector. One common theme is that these endangered species are mostly located around the tropical belt, from Latin America all the way to Southeast Asia, Borneo. And coincidentally, crops like soybean, oil palm, they tend to grow well in the tropical areas. So because of this particular situation, you have, again, a difficult scenario where the industry or agricultural communities are threatening the endemic biodiversity of these particular biome hotspots. So next, this is a picture or figure that shows, again, number one, the total value when it comes to the import and export of palm oil. You can see the trade flow. You can see the complexity of the supply chain again. And you can also see the number of countries that both Malaysia and Indonesia has been exporting our palm oil to. So this will also relate to the later part of my presentation when it comes to getting markets, getting markets to create better demand for sustainable commodities like palm oil, So now we come to the second part of my presentation. So why we are depending and relying on the certification schemes. So some of you may have seen the FFC logo before. This is the Forest Stewardship Council, where, for example, when you read some books or when you get printed materials, some of these books or materials may carry this particular FSC logo. So it indicates that the papers here sourced in the production and making of this book are sustainably sourced from timber, sustainable timber. So these are among some of the examples of the various certification schemes here that the agricultural communities have adopted. And all of them have this particular common objective. It is to demonstrate that these communities are produced in a sustainable manner. So we come here to the palm oil certifications. Right. Major certifications in the palm oil industry. The first one will be the voluntary certification scheme, which is the RSPO, and it's been a while already. I mean, RSPO was first established in 2004. This is almost 17 years ago, and is getting growing stronger and stronger. And RSPO is a business-to-business initiative. It's voluntary. And then the second major certification schemes in the palm oil industry would be the national schemes. So you have the ISPO, which is the Indonesian scheme for sustainable palm oil. And we have the MSPO as well, which is the national scheme for Malaysia. So more about MSPO here, yeah? The background again to MSPO is that this is first launched in the year 2015. And later on, it's been made mandatory for the entire industry from 2020 onwards. And again, we share the common objective to ensure that the Malaysian palm oil can be produced in a sustainable manner. So right now, we have almost 97% already of the total oil palm planted area in Malaysia having undergone MSPO certification. So it is almost 100% of the, the objective is to get the entire industry to be 100% certified. We are almost there. This is something interesting that I want to share with you because this particular SWOT analysis here was conducted in my master's subject where I was required to identify what are the current strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in the MSPO in our Malaysian standards for sustainable palm oil. And if you can notice in the title, right, this particular analysis here is based on the original version, which is the version that was produced in 2013. So it's already 8 years already. And we have just released the latest version, which is the MS, it stands for Malaysian Standards, 2530-2022. So this was released just last month in March. So what I would like to share with you here is that if you look at all the strengths and weaknesses here, you would also notice that there are a number of publications that compares the different certification schemes in the palm oil industry. You would have come across comparisons between MSPO versus RSPO, MSPO versus ISPO, and many, many more. So what I would like to add here is that, number one, no single certification scheme is perfect and complete. And number two, all of this has to be updated continuously. It is a process of continuous improvements because certification schemes and standards will not be able to capture most of the most of the emerging issues that will be taking place in the next few years. So let's move on to the next slide here. So if you refer back to the SWOT analysis here, what you can find is that there are a number of weaknesses in the previous MSPO standards 2013. And the reason being is that usually when it comes to the revision of Malaysian standards is on a cycle of 5 years. Every 5 years, you have Malaysian standards being updated. But because this particular MS for the sustainable palm oil has not been revised since 2013, you see that there are a number of issues that has, or a number of gaps, I'll use the term gaps, a number of sustainability gaps that have emerged since in the past 8 years. And right now, of course, I think many of you have read about the social forced labor issues, and this is also one of the weaknesses in the past particular standards. So what has been done is, in the last 3 years, we have a technical committee for the Malaysian Standards 25030. So this particular committee is assigned to look into the gaps and constraints, what is missing in the previous MSPO, and how can the industry address these particular gaps and constraints. And one important note that we have found is that the Malaysian smallholders, especially the independent smallholders, they are left behind. Because this is a situation where, number one, you have the big plantations, for example, the Saingati, the IOIs, the KOKs. They have both the financial means as well as the technical expertise required to undergo and ensure that this particular certification can be implemented seamlessly in their company operations. For smallholders, you have one, the FELDA smallholders, for example. Smallholders under FELDA, or we call it organized smallholders, they also enjoy this technical assistance. But when it comes to independent smallholders, these are smallholders which do not belong in any associations and programs. They are often left behind. And these are the group that requires assistance the most in terms of helping them to achieve sustainability and to also comply to the Malaysian standards for sustainable palm oil. So this is one of the larger gaps in the MSPO. So what has been done for the new version? This is the latest version that we have released. If you can look at this, the slide here, right? Major issues that has been identified has been addressed. For example, the requirements to have a HCV, high conservation value requirements in the standards. The need to conduct social impact assessments, which was not available earlier, which was not included previously. For us to address the climate change issue in incorporating a greenhouse gas emissions calculator, the need to have more precise and clearer definitions on forced labor and child labor to again address the issues of forced labor that the industry is facing at the moment. And also the capability to ensure transparency and traceability within the full spectrum of the supply chain. I think we will use a lot of the term supply chain from here onwards, because again, when it comes to the industry, then when our industry develops, when it gets bigger and bigger, our supply chain increases as well and it extends. So the issue and the complications here is for companies to ensure that their full supply chain, these are the third-party vendors and suppliers, also comply to the sustainability requirements. So it's no longer a case where companies themselves need to meet these sustainability requirements, but companies also need to ensure that all their suppliers and vendors and third-party contractors also meet and comply with the sustainability requirements. For example, when it comes to forced labor, ensure that the employment agencies undergoes all the required mechanisms to ensure that there's no forced labor elements in the procurement of foreign workers. So full supply chain and the traceability and transparency of the supply chain will be a major issue from now onwards. So to give you an idea what is this supply chain and how does traceability and transparency comes in, I will just share with you a short video on MSPO Trace, which deals with this particular issue. So Here you go.
Malaysian palm oil is used in various applications worldwide, such as food, feed, home, personal care products, and fuel. Being a wise consumer, we always ask ourselves these common questions. Where does the palm oil in my product come from? Is palm oil grown under good agricultural practices? Am I consuming certified palm products? Are there any deforestation or animal habitat violation along the process of making palm oil? And finally, how do I track and trace the palm oil right from its source to the product I'm about to use? Well, MSPO Trace has the solution. MSPO Trace is a platform designed and developed by Malaysian Palm Oil Certification Council to monitor the certification and traceability of Malaysian palm oil supply chain. This unique platform is divided into two categories. 1. Certification. Accredited certification bodies conduct annual audits on palm oil plantations and processing facilities to ensure entities operate under the Oil Palm Management Certification and Supply Chain Certification standards. MSPO Trace is able to display the certification information on each and every entity involved in supply chain with their precise respective geolocation. 2. Traceability. MSPO Trace is able to identify and indicate the history, distribution location, and application of palm products to ensure the reliability and sustainability claims in the areas of human rights, labor, health and safety, and the environment. Fresh palm fruit bunches harvested by smallholders, organized smallholders, estates, and dealers are transported to palm oil mills to be transformed into crude palm oil, CPO, and palm kernel, PK. Next in the supply chain, crude palm oil and palm kernels are sent to refineries and kernel crushers respectively. Products from refineries and crushers are then supplied to downstream processing facilities such as oleochemical and biodiesel plants for further conversion. Let's look at the features of traceability in MSPO Trace: processing facility profile creation, supplier and buyer database, sales announcements, transaction and records, graphical data analysis, and supply chain diagram. MSPO tracks every process and transaction taking place in the Malaysian palm oil industry, and it does not stop there. MSPO Trace is able to integrate local and international industry players as a part of the traceability system. MSPO Trace allows all palm product users around the world to verify the product certification and trace out the supply chain by just scanning the QR code via their mobile phones. This means a user in the UK will be able to view the whole supply chain of certified Malaysian palm product sources right up to a smallholder in Tan by simply scanning a QR code at the back of her cosmetic products. With the continuous participation of each stakeholder in Malaysian palm oil industry, MSPO Trace utilizes big data management and GPS to display the real-time and specific transaction at every stage of Malaysian palm oil supply chain. The system also provides data of each buyer and seller at multiple levels in the supply chain to make procurement decisions more transparent on where and whom are involved during each shipment. MSPO Trace is based on three core principles: accountability, sustainability, and traceability. Is now ready towards promoting certified and traceable Malaysian palm oil to the world.
Okay, so right now we are here towards the end, the end of my presentation. Moving forward, now, what's been shared earlier is that, okay, number one, when it comes to the Malaysian palm oil industry, almost 100% of the industry is sustainably certified, which means that most of the industry has at least achieved the MSPO certification. So what next? How can we further improve this particular sustainability debate? First one is, for us, to incentivize the global market to demand for sustainable commodities. If you can remember the earlier first few slides where you have so many of the markets for palm oil, it requires more than the EU, European Union, to demand for sustainable certified palm oil or sustainability certified agricultural commodities. We need to have more and more markets demanding for sustainably produced commodities, because I think the important thing is to have this particular sustainability or sustainably certified commodities, making it a norm. And this is very much required because most countries globally, we are all trying to mitigate climate change, and we are all trying to also make the net carbon zero targets by 2050. It's already 2022, and it's not another 20 years plus 30 years for us to achieve carbon neutrality. So these are some of the steps that the countries and the governments can take in terms of creating a demand for sustainably produced commodities. That's number one. The second key message here is that selection schemes are not the only answer. It requires concerted efforts to engage with the stakeholders. More importantly, continuous engagements, because this is when the industry and the players will be able to improve upon the selection schemes. Without engagements, the industry cannot find issues and gaps that requires the attention of the industry to address them. So continuous engagements with stakeholders, the governments, the consumers, the manufacturers are very important. And finally, of course, recognizing MSPO by the buyer markets and the governments will also help to achieve the collective visions of meeting the UN SDG, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which we have about 17 of them. So maybe as a final word from my end, it'll be interesting, for me to also find out from all the students here, amongst the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals that's listed here, which goal do you think sustainable palm oil can contribute to? That's one interesting question. And I would like to end my presentation by sharing these slides here on no quick fixes. Is basically why boycotting palm oil will not work. And why we need palm oil, the role of palm oil. Right now, to reflect on the current geopolitical developments in Russia and Ukraine, one of the most important things is to have right now is food security. I think maybe some of you would have realized collectively, Russia and Ukraine is one of the global producers for sunflower oils. And this current situation has impeded upon the production of sunflower oils in the world. So you have palm oil and palm oil, soybean oil as the other options, as the other alternatives to help mitigate the current shortage of sunflower oils. So palm oil also plays a very important role in ensuring food security. I think all vegetable oils are important, and all vegetable oils plays a role in the market. We do not believe that one oil is more superior to the others, but every single vegetable oils is important to ensure that there's food security for the world globally. So with that, I would like to end my presentation. It's about 2:45, but just before I end this presentation, right, I understand that you will have a virtual oil palm mill tour later. So before that, right, this is something that MPOC has just recently developed. We spent 2020, I remember it was the MCO 2 the whole team were going around Malaysia, going to Pahang, going to Johor, collecting footages for this particular VR tour. And we did it. The reason why is because, like for example, this current TopSeed webinar, prior to MCO, prior to 2020, usually when it comes to seminars, it's always a physical seminar, and we will bring the students to visit an oil palm estate to really show them on the ground how oil palm is planted. So with the current MCO and with technology, we have prepared the next best thing for you to visit oil palm plantation. So less talk and more work. Let me bring you to this particular PR tour.
Oil palm has been the golden crop and bedrock of Malaysia's economy, social development, political stability, ability to innovate, and drives the nation's development. The success of Malaysian palm oil industry is one of the key contributors to Malaysia's gross domestic product, foreign exchange earnings, and creation of employment opportunities. Today, the industry directly employs more than 570,000 people and contributed $21.09 billion to Malaysia's exports. More than 39% of oil palm plantations are owned by smallholders and has contributed to one of the largest poverty alleviation projects in the world. Palm oil, a truly nature's gift.
These are our our location partners, Felda, FGB, and Sandabi was very kind to allow us to visit their plantations for the filming purposes. So when you enter this particular site, right, it is basically a virtual tour covering all the major areas, all the major stations. Nursery is how we start the planting journey. Plantations. And then at the mills. So I've just skipped the mills tour because that be presented by our speaker. Just to give an example, for example, the plantations, just click here. And there are a number of icons for you to learn. These are some of the IPM, integrated pest management activities. So what you can do is, when you explore this particular landscape, right, you can just click on any of these icons here to learn about the sustainability management practices in a oil palm plantation estate, or the mills, or the nursery. For example, when you click on this harvesting,
Malaysia is renowned for its advanced research and development on palm oil. These include development and commercialization of efficient mechanical harvesters. With mechanization, the workforce for harvesting can be reduced by half, land to labor ratio doubled, productivity tripled, and the harvesting cost cut by 75%. Productivity can be increased depending on the crop yield and the estate's topography.
okay. So I will not go into every one of the stations. I will leave the honor to all of you students to explore it. Yeah. So this is something that you can visit. It's accessible in our MPOC's website. So with that, Okay, this is my final slide already. So with that, I formally end my presentation. I really hope that all of you get the chance or the opportunity to visit this particular virtual reality site for you to explore. I mean, how things are, how things can be found in an actual plantation. And hopefully the next session when we organize the next toxic session, we can organize an actual tour into an estate. So there you go. This is my final slide. I will stop sharing. And thank you very much. Thank you everyone for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Michael, for your insightful talk. Really appreciate that. Now, on to the next part of our event, the virtual site tour to IOI Edible Oils SPN DHC, given by chemist Yuen. Let me give you a little bit of background about Ms. Yuen. Chemist Yuen is a professional chemist registered with the Malaysian Institute of Chemistry. She is the Quality Assurance and Quality Control Manager of IOI Edible Oils SPN DHC Sandakan. She also leads the R&D team, which is developing processes for 3-MCCDD and GE mitigation, MOSH and MOAH minimization in refined oils, new product development, as well as process improvement. She also oversees issues pertaining to food safety. She has published several peer-reviewed articles related to environmental pollution, food contamination, and sustainable practices in the edible oil industry. Without further ado, I would like to call upon Ms. Yuen. Ms. Yuen, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Fiona. All right, thanks again, Fiona. Okay, thanks for invitation. Also, good afternoon to all. Prof. Ahmad, Dr. Masrina, and also Sammy. Also, very wonderful presentation from Michael just now. So during the presentation, I will turn off my camera, and I hope you won't mind. So I will start sharing my screen. All right, actually showing the first slide of this cover page.
Yep, I see the PowerPoint.
Yep. So good afternoon all. This cover page actually showing the main entrance of the IOI edible oil. Yep, we are here. And this is our main office, security house, the refinery, and also the palm kernel dry fractionation plant. Okay. Yes, IOI edible oil is located in Sandakan, Sabah, and started the plant commissioning and export since early 1998. Yep, if there is some distance from Penang, from USM, but still reachable, and I believe there is many of the students at USM actually is come from Sabah. Okay, if any from you is come from Sabah, just can give a thumb like, and then I can know that you are from the Sabah. Okay. All right. This here, the showing the complex. Actually, IOI edible oil is a fully equipped and built up over 62 acres. And here we can see the building of the refinery and fractionation plant. This is the incoming CPO sampling station, and there is a lab next to it for quality checking and assurance. This is, however, is the kernel crushing plant, and this is the palm kernel dry fractionation plant. Both of these plants are processing the lauric products, and together with the refined palm oil products from refinery and dry fractionation, we also the product in our algae installation with the capacity of 170,000 metric tons. Before I move, actually the greenery scenery here shows that our plants are actually developed together, taking care of the surroundings, environmental preservation, and implementing responsible processing manners with plenty of sustainable practice in place. And this actually has been shared by our General Manager, IChemE, in yesterday's toxic event. Yes, we are doing the physical refining, and the 3 productions line process 1 million metric ton of the CPO crude palm oil per annum. And the refined fish and deodorized palm oil, we call it as RBDPO, is sent to the fractionation plants. We have 4 dry fractionation plants to further process to get the liquid oil, as well as the solid sterling for various food and non-food applications. Looking at this block diagram, the CPO crude palm oil actually is derived from palm fruits. Here at refinery, our first step is to do the degumming and bleaching. After the process, we will get the bleached palm oil PPO. And after deodorization, we will obtain the main product RBDPO and the co-product PFAD, palm fatty acid distillate. And after this dry fractionation, we get the liquid olein as well as the solid sterline. If we are looking for the super olein or the soft sterline palm fraction, then we will proceed for the second dry fractionation or so-called double fractionations. All right, at physical refining, we can see that 95% of our main product is RBDPO, and it is used mainly for bakery, food service, which include noodle manufacturing and also for frying purpose. Olein and super olein as cooking oil and suitable for frying and many other cooking modes. Sterline, well, is used as a gastric fats to make margarine or soap, and the special grade of the soft sterline for confectionery fillings. Here showing the refined lolic products and actually derived from this lolic production line, and many they are being used for this confectionery for food. So if any chocolate lover or the ice cream lover here, don't feel surprised if you find a palm kernel oil product in the ingredient list of your favorites. And last, this is showing actually the PFAD or the PKFAD. Although they are the core product, there are many used in this animal feed, oil chemistry, biodiesel productions. And nowadays, researchers discovered that there is a great value of the phytonutrients in palm oil, which included the tocophenol, tocotrienol, carotenoid, phytosterol, polyphenol, coenzyme, spirulina, and so on. Therefore, many research studies are ongoing to maximize the extraction and preservation of these phytonutrients for pharmaceutical and also nutritional usage for human. Now, let me walk you through the refinery process. Well, first, the crude palm oil from solid chain, which is heated up to 50 degrees Celsius, is pumped into the plant. In the first step of the refining, acid is mixed with the CPO at the degumming vessel to convert the non-hydratable phosphatide into hydratable phosphatide. And the degummed oil then underwent the bleaching process, where the bleaching earth is added for the absorption of gummy material, phosphatides, impurities left over, or any of the oxidized metals. The slurry then being filtered out in the Niagara filter. What is Niagara filter? Niagara filter is a pre-cut filter. Filter oil goes through a polishing filter, which then be used to capture any of the breakthrough of the fine particles in the bleaching earth. Yeah, here is the filter, polishing filter here. And the oil then being sent to the deaerator. All right, here, prior to deodorization to avoid the oxidation and polymerization. And here the moisture in the oil is further reduced. Now, the PPO is sent to the final heater and heated up by vapors from the cold stroke boiler. This is the cold stroke boiler. Oil continues to flow into the pre-stripper, and vapor from deodorizer is used to remove the volatile matters. Now here, this pack column stripper gives a high surface area where the counter current contact of the oil and the stripping steam over the packing result in a very effective stripping for this free fatty acid or any other volatile contaminants, included pesticides, PCB, light PAH, etc. in a very short contact time. The vapors leaving the deodorizer consist of steam, volatile components. They are fatty acids, sterol, tocophenols, and also other contaminants. Some minor amount of the mechanical and trend neutral oil, monothi or triglycerides, and some of the non-condensables. Condensation of the volatile components is achieved in the scrubber. You can see there is a scrubber labeling here, and result in a core product called PFAD. PFAD will send to the solid chain. Remember the one for oil chemistry and also the animal feeds. Okay. And the condensation of the volatile component is achieved in this scrubber, and the condensation is enhanced by built-in a sprayer in the ducting, and an additional demister is installed ahead of the vacuum unit to minimize the carryover of the fatty matters to the barometric condenser water. And some differences between this RBDPO and also this core product, so-called the PFAD, because in the PFAD, the FFF percentage is very high, above 85%. It then is sent to the storage tank. Now, the oil flow from the pre-stripper will flow in the top tray of the deodorizer over here, and went to each tray of the deodorizer. Deodorization is a vacuum system with steam stripping in each tray, further bring down the free fatty acid, color, and removal of the oxidized metals. There are the aldehyde, ketones, and further remove the oils. All of this process, actually, the heating, cooling, and deodorization are combined in one single vessel of this vertical tray type of deodorizer. This is a so-called deodorizer. And here again, we can see there is a heat recovery is optimized by exchanging the heat capacity between the RPD, refined bridge, and deodorized palm oil coming up from the deodorizer above 200 degrees Celsius with the incoming feed oil BPO. After the deodorization, the BPO, the RPD is finally obtained. And after went to the final polishing filter at this site, the RPD is now sent to the storage tank and ready to be used for food applications. Now, if you notice the change of light color here, it actually changed from the reddish yellow to lighter yellow and then become the golden yellow, which indicating the decupping, bleaching, and deodorization process is happening, and the changes of the quality and conversion from crude to refined palm oil products. Now, after the physical refining, if other specification oil is required, it will then be sent to the dry fractionation plant. Now we move into the simple stage of the dry fractionation process, where the RPDPO from the refinery is sent to the crystallizer, and the oil is cold follow the cooling cycle program to give a desired yield and also quality, following the seasonal demand and also price. In the cooling process, cold and chilled water is used together with agitation stirring to form crystals, and the oil will undergo nucleation, crystal growth, accumulation, and also entration mechanisms. After about 6 hours of cooling, the slurry oil is sent to the filter press. This is the filter press. And upon the filter plate chamber filled up with this slurry oil and the fitting valve is shut off, all membrane is injected with compressed air and the oil is being filtered out through squeezing. Yep, through squeezing we can see the filter out of the oil, and upon the filter plate open, we can see the dry cake or the sterling cake is discharged to the sterling draft here. And after we do the melting, it will be sent to the storage tank. All right. After the completion of the squeezing and blowing, we will have obtained our oil and also sterling product. This is a simple and also fresh process. After this slide, let's watch a short video showing the actual refining and fractionation process at IOI edible one.
Sorry, Miss Young, is there any sound that's supposed to be playing?
Sorry?
We can't really hear. We can't hear the sound from the video. Is it
Okay,
possible
I try to.
reshare? Yeah.
Okay, I try to share again.
Yeah,
One moment.
and optimize motion and video so that we can hear the sound.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Is it better now? Is it
We
better now?
can't hear the sound.
All right, I
Is
share
it
again.
possible to stop sharing the screen and reshare again?
All right, I'll try again. A moment, yeah.
No worries.
Fiona, is it okay?
No, we still can't hear. Do you see the stop sharing option at the top of your screen?
All right, one moment.
Yeah.
Dia tekan je.
Hi everyone, please be patient as there's some technical difficulties.
Fiona, you can hear and also see the video.
No, Miss Yuen, I can only see the video, but unfortunately I can't hear.
Okay, I'm not getting my IT support to assist me to share the video.
Alright,
Okay.
CPO production and outgoing shipment. This is CPO receiving station and a
you can hear already. Thank you so much.
Start again.
Hi Miss Yuen, are you speaking? I can't really hear you.
Come again.
Okay, I can hear you now. Are you playing the video?
Yes, can you hear the video?
The video is not moving.
Video is not moving.
Yeah.
Okay, I try to reshare again now. You wait
Yeah,
for
yeah,
a
yeah.
moment. Okay.
No worries.
You still see my screen, right?
Yes, we still see your screen.
Fiona, you can hear right the video.
No, I can't actually. The video is frozen. The screen is frozen.
Actually, now it's at one slide only. After that, we move to our next slide. May I know is the frozen at which slide?
At the video, the CPO receiving station.
Releasing station. Again already.
It's frozen at the video that.
Come again. Frozen
at the video, and the video is not moving.
Still not moving at this moment.
Yeah.
All right, you hold a moment.
Sure.
Video frozen. Should have done. Still not moving at the moment.
Yeah, Miss Yuen, it's not moving.
Just feeling about it.
Production and outgoing shipment. This is CPO receiving station and a 24-hour laboratory is next to it for oil analysis and
Miss
quality
Yuen, we
control.
can hear already.
Right.
For physical refining of crude palm oil, the first main process is degumming of CPO. The CPO is mixed with phosphoric acid in order to remove the gums in the oil. Next, the oil will go through bleaching process where the undesired matters will be absorbed by the bleaching earth. The slurry will then be filtered out in the Niagara filter. After that, the bleached palm oil will undergo deodorization process, which aim to lower down the FFA and further improve the oil color. The crude palm oil is drawn from the tank farm. After that, the CPO will exchange heat with the outgoing refined bleached deodorized palm oil from the process through plate heat exchanger. Degumming of crude palm oil is to remove gum, also known as phospholipid, which is found in the CPO. The presence of phosphatide will cause undesirable flavor and color, which shorten the shelf life of oil. The CPO is preheated before the addition of phosphoric acid to hydrolyze the non-hydratable phospholipid. The bleaching process is an absorption process where the bleaching earth is added to remove the undesired matter from the oil. Pigments such as chlorophyll and carotene, heavy metals and precipitate from the degumming process. It improves the appearance and taste of the oil. After the bleaching process, the slurry oil will be filtered through the Niagara filter. The slurry will be first undergone pre-coating on the filter leaf before proceed to filtration process. The filtrate coming out is known as bleached palm oil, while after the steam blowing, the discharge gas is known as spent bleaching earth.
The vertical pressure leaf filter and its filter leaf in a spherical arrangement. And connected to the center shaft of the vibrator cylinder. The process starts by filling slurry and recirculate the slurry to form a pre-coat onto the Niagara filter. And the filtration starts after that. Bleaching earth are being filtered out from the oil. The steam is blown into the filter to empty the oil and dry the spent bleaching earth. Vibrator cylinder vibrates the filter leaf and spent bleaching earth is discharged from the bottom. CPO coming out from the pressure leaf, filter goes through the back filters, the captive filters, for polishing steps. CPO proceeds to final stage of physical refining, deodorization. Through the sightglass, we can observe the rigorous mixing of the oil, and the FFA and other volatile metals are stripped off with steam rising upwards. This is another type of the sparging steam using magnet pumps. The stripped FFA is condensed as PFAD in distillate recovery system and collected in the fatty acid tank. Engineer and operator can do monitoring in the control room and sometimes fine-tune the process over there. Cooling tower functions to cooling down the water heated up by plant equipment. This is the high-pressure closed-loop boiler for oil heating and final heater for deodorization process. This is the control panel. The boiler chimney outlook, and the burner used in this dual fire boiler.
Vacuum is generated by the compression of steam through the steam booster and is being condensed by the barometric condenser to create a collapsing in volume. Whatever condensed by the barometric condenser will go to the hot valve to separate oil content and cool down before it's sent to the dirty cooling tower, where the non-condensable will be removed by the vacuum pump and released to the atmospheric.
Now move into the dry fractionation plant, and this is the filter press that fractionate the PO into the olein and sterling. The cylinder vessels as surrounding are the crystallizer for cooling cycle process.
This slide shows the process flow of dry fractionation plant. RBD palm oil supplied from refinery plant with certain requirement of quality before sent to dry fractionation plant. The next step is crucial for frac plant, which is to heat up the RBD PO before fed into the crystallizers. In the crystallizer, the oil is cooled following a cooling sequence with defined program using PLC or programmable controllers. Then, the slurry oil sends to filter press for the separation of liquid and solid products. Next slide shows the crystallization mechanism. The first mechanism is nucleation, which is the birth of new small crystals. Once a crystal nucleus is formed, it starts growing due to the incorporation of other molecules of the adjacent liquid layer that is continuously filled by the supersaturated liquid that surrounds the crystal, resulting in the size of the crystals increases. Next, agglomeration, where the crystals stick together, and the last mechanism is attrition. Agglomerated crystal break into small pieces due to the mechanical collisions.
Cooling and chill water will flow through the water cooling coil in the crystallizer to cool down the oil according to a program sequence. Crystallization is being done in the crystallizer, where it is being programmed to follow a controlled cooling with specific agitation speed to form good crystal.
In dry fractionation plant, chiller is important machine since the process depends on chill water for crystallization to occur. In order to improve the plant throughput and operation, Frac 2 and Frac 4 have installed new centrifugal chiller 500 RT with greater efficiency and less power consumption.
Oil slowly from crystallizer is fed into the filter press for filtration. The liquid oil is being filtered out through squeezing using air or oil, and upon the filter press open, dry sterling is being discharged. Stainless steel plate is installed in the sterling draft to break the sterling cake into smaller pieces for the ease of melting before sent to the storage tank. The filtration step, slurry is fed into the filter press, and fetting pressure forces the slurry through the filter cloth, and the oil in the blue line is filtered out. The solid remains in the plate and is pressed into the cake shape. As the pressure continuously increases and the chamber plate inflates, filter chamber soon completely filled with cake when fitting pressure reaches the maximum point. Core goal is to prevent the blockage in the lines and also maximize the solid content of cake. Squeezing started after chamber is injected with air or oil. Then chamber plate deflate and the filter cake are discharged.
Both oil and sterling are collected at the plant collection tank prior sent to the respective storage tank, follow the daily QC planning. This is our bulking installation for the storage of the RBDPO, oil, sterling, crude palm oil, and crude oleic product prior shipment. The last page showing our certification in place to meet the domestic and international standard requirement.
Alright, that's the end of the video, and at last is the final page. Actually, the video is a teamwork from our engineer and chemist over here, led by our general manager Ayasham, Ryan Chong Ji Hao, Evie Wong, Gong, and also Yuen. So thank you for the invitation from IChemE Toxic, and also thank you for your attention and also your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yuen, for the site tour, and I would like to apologize to the floor for the technical issues just now. Thank you so much for being patient. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to our Q&A session for today's talk. You can either unmute your microphone to ask questions or leave the questions in the chat box regarding both of the talks that we have had just now. So feel free to type whatever questions you have for either Mr. Michael or Ms. Yu based on the talk and the sharing that was given just now. Once again, you may unmute your microphone or you can just type it out in the chat box for them to answer. Don't be shy, this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience since Mr. Michael and Ms. Yuen are here to spend the afternoon with you guys to answer any questions or any doubts that you have. It can be related to the talk or it can be related to the specialty of fields that they are in. They are more than welcome, more than happy to answer any questions that you have. There's one question in the chat box. I believe it's for Mr. Michael. Is MSCO certification compulsory and what is wrong with RSCO certification?
Thank you for the question. First of all, yes, MSPO is a mandatory certification for the Malaysian oil palm industry. So which means that the industry needs to comply to this particular MSPO certification, and it's compulsory, it's mandatory. And that's the reason for it, because the government wants to ensure that the entire industry can produce sustainable palm oil collectively as a nation, from Malaysia. What is wrong with RSPO certification? There's nothing wrong. Again, it is again a situation where you have options. So, for example, Malaysia, we have the mandatory requirement to have companies to comply with MSPO. Indonesia, they have the ISPO, which is also mandatory. It's also compulsory for the Indonesian plantations and companies to comply to ISPO. Now, RSPO is something that is initiated on a voluntary basis between business to business. So it is a matter of options, choices for the buyers, for the consumers, which particular scheme that they require. Of course, when it comes to the certifications, right, in particular the principles and criteria, there will always be a debate, which is true. I mean, when it comes to the requirements, some may see RSPO to be much more stringent, yeah, in these sustainability requirements because these again primarily come from the developed countries, EU. Yeah, so they, the buyers and the users, they require far higher sustainability requirement. So that is where RSPO comes to play. There are also different factors when it comes to MSPO and RSPO. For example, RSPO, you need to pay a membership. Whereas for MSPO, there's no membership cost involved. And then when it comes to RSPO, certain companies are able to obtain, we call it a premium. Yeah, a premium to sell certified sustainable palm oil. So a premium is an added cost, additional margin, where producers of RSPO palm oil can sell these certified sustainable palm oil at a higher margin compared to MSPO. So these are again some differences between the certification systems. Again, a very short question. I mean, it's a very short answer, but it should capture the essence between MSPO and RSPO. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Michael. There's another question in the chat box from Tan Tokit. We would like to ask whether the R&D department is available. I believe this question is for Ms. Yuen from IOI.
Yeah. For Tan, actually we have an R&D department, and we are now working on this mitigation of trade MCBD and GE. As well, we are looking into this fractionation improvement is to get a higher yield and also better quality.
All right, thank you, Ms. Yuen. Question from Sammy, I think either one can answer. What engineers are needed in the palm oil industry? Do we need them in small amounts or large amounts?
Yeah, if I take this question, in the refinery industry, we need a lot of engineers can become from chemical, mechanical. We have mechanical engineer here, chemical engineer, the double E, as well as this mechatronic and other discipline of the engineering. We have many of the the production line, the refining, fractionation, kernel crushing, as well as the palm kernel dry fractionation. We also have our boiler complex over here, which we also need the steam engineer to run the plant.
All right. Speaking of, I think Ms. Yuen, you're related to this question. In palm oil processing, is 0.3 mcCBE and DE achievable, and what are their challenges?
All right. For this 0.3 mcBD, yet to see any achievement to reach this zero level of 3 mcBD and GE. Because the formation of 3 mcBD is caused by the precursor of this chloride. We wouldn't remove all the chloride in the oil. There is a two stream of the chloride. One is inorganic, the other is organic. Even we can do the removal of chloride through the water washing, remove the chloride to very low level, below 1 ppm. They will still have a trace amount of the organic chloride in the CPO. And after the process at high temperature, it will cause the formation of 3 mcBD. But below 2.5 ppm is achievable. And with further improvements that we can further bring it down. Same for the GE. The formation of GE by many researchers in the literature actually is come from the formation or the presence of the DAG. DAG is present originally in the palm oil it counted from 4 to 7%. That one also is not removable from the oil. That's why after the high temperature processing, it will cause the formation of the GE, residual ester. And the challenges we are facing actually is the quality of the crude palm oil. If all these contaminants present originally in the crude palm oil, then definitely very difficult to remove the contaminants. So the quality and also the processing fine-tuning are the crucial points.
All right, thank you. Question for Mr. Michael. Is there a different evaluation of sustainability in Europe or Western world and Malaysia?
Definitely, definitely. I think this is the main reason why, as I've explained in my presentation earlier, the primary reason why we have to undergo continuous engagement with our stakeholders, because number one, we want to also ensure that the Europe and the European countries are aware of our local constraints and limitations. And at the same time, we also get to understand from the European perspective what are the topics, what are the items that is making the consumers, the businesses, and the manufacturers worried. What are their chief concerns? So by having these particular engagements, right, we both parties will then come to a situation where there is a mutual recognition and understanding of the sustainability debate, as well as a mutual recognition of what are the sustainability achievements and sustainability objectives and activities that can be implemented. I think one good reason or one good example, when we highlight the differences in how Malaysia and Europe views sustainability issues. Like for example, when it comes to the Europeans, any activities here that includes the felling of trees considered as deforestation. Any activities or impacts that require that involves the deforestation, chopping off of trees, will be seen as deforestation. And that is rightly so, in their opinion. Here in Malaysia, things are very much different when it comes to how we manage the forests in Malaysia. Because in Malaysia, number one, we have forest classifications. You have the totally protected areas. These are your national parks. You cannot have any developments. Everything is totally protected. You also have the situation of SFMs, the Sustainable Forest Management. So this is a situation where you have forests that are or forested areas that are or concession areas that are used for timber logging. Well, it may seem to be deforestation. It is seen as deforestation by the Europeans, but in Malaysia, the Malaysian government is looking at this as a form of sustainable forest management. Same thing goes with states. States will have the state lands, and often state lands are usually developed for the purposes of agriculture. So oil palm cultivation, it can be rubber, it can be any form of agricultural activities. Again, these state lands are areas which are often forests that is gazetted for development. But when it comes to the European perspective, these are again a form of deforestation. I think this is where the need for continuous engagements here to reconcile our differences and to let each other, I mean, all parties understand the complexities here in coming to terms on how sustainability is defined and viewed. It's again a continuous process. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Michael. Question for Ms. Yuen. Is there any reason why IRI edible prefers physical refining over chemical refining for the refinery process?
Yeah. To answer this question first, I would like to explain there are two types of refining. One is a physical refining, as practiced by IOI edible oil here. Another type is a chemical refining. And this chemical refining actually is a past centuries traditional method in doing the refining. and they are using the acid-base neutralization process. So it's already different from the physical refining. We are going towards this more sustainable practice. That's why we are stick with this physical refining.
All right. Then also want to know, does IOI edible oil convert biomass into fertilizer or sell it to a third party as raw material to produce fertilizer?
Yeah, exactly. We actually collected the boiler ash coming out from our boiler, and with this really high content of the potassium, we sold it as a fertilizer supplied to mill and also extract.
All right, cool. Okay, a question from Harish for Mr. Michael. Despite being responsible for about 8% of world deforestation and being blamed for extreme air pollution due to land clearance for palm oil, why would palm oil still be considered the main source of vegetable oil instead of soybean oil?
Now, there are a number of reasons why. Yeah, but first of all, when we compare again the impacts here, when it comes to the cultivation of soybean versus the cultivation of oil palm, again, this is not from us. These are from third-party reports. Like, for example, one of the slides I've shared earlier from the World Resources Institute, it actually indicates and pinpoints that when it comes to the impacts, the deforestation impacts here, the major parties or the major sectors that are contributing to deforestation are largely livestock, cattle. I mean, the beef we are consuming, it is the major GHG emissions contributor and the major deforestation contributor, livestock. And this is followed closely by, secondly, by the soil, the soybean. Again, this is largely due to the expansion in Latin America, South America. So again, why the reason why again we want to have these certifications? This is again the main objective of having sustainability certification schemes. This is to ensure that production of any commodities, I will not pinpoint soybean, cattle, or oil palm. In fact, all commodities needs to be subjected or needs to comply to a particular certification so that it can demonstrate that these commodities, when they are developed and they are being cultivated, all of them will be adhering to set standards when it comes to sustainability requirements. So that's one. Main source of vegetable oils instead of soybean oil, I think right now, of course, you're seeing the CPO price at its all-time high. Yeah, in the past, in fact, you can just go back to about 2 years ago, before the pandemic started, 2019, early 2020. I think the oil palm, the CPO price was hovering around RM 2000 plus, 2000, 2005, before everything escalated. After the pandemic, this is again due to the bottleneck, due to the issue of supply chain, labor shortage, not only in Malaysia, but all around the world. Okay, prior to the pandemic, one of the main reasons why palm oil is not considered the main source. It is something that is very popular amongst the manufacturers and the users. It's because of its versatility. When it comes to the composition, the fatty acid composition is 50% saturated fat and 50% unsaturated fat. So there is a number of processes, a number of applications that users around the world can make use. When it comes to palm oil, cooking oil, as you all know, oleochemicals. It's a number of specialty fats that the industries around the world can make use of. I think this is chiefly because of the versatility. Thank you.
Mr. Michael, you did mention about the CPO price. There's a question related to that from FAST, where the CPO prices have been increased triple nowadays compared to before the pandemic. What challenges are faced by the refiners possibly?
Yeah, regarding to the price of this CPO, the increase sharply recently. So we will see from the point of view from the refinery, they will have a higher export of this CPO compared to the refined palm oil product. That's one of the risks we will see. However, we still can see by improving our quality, looking into the mitigation of this 3-MCBD and GE, we can able to produce a better quality with a higher food security of that oil. Then definitely we can get another market for this our palm oil product.
All right.
So meaning to say refinery, we need to look for outlet for higher grade of the refined palm oil product.
All right, thank you, Ms. Yuen. Question for Mr. Michael. There are two questions. How does palm oil affect the rainforest? Is it true that palm oil plantation causes greenhouse gases? And also, how long does the palm oil need to be replanted? Is it costly and need to wait a long period before the next harvest?
All right. This is again something that we should actually stress to all stakeholders. Yeah. Palm oil, or rather oil palm. An oil palm is just like it's a tree. Yeah. We view this as a crop, but it is in terms of the physiology, it is a tree. So the oil palm is just, it functions just like any other trees. So when it comes to CO2 and oxygen, palm oil gives up oxygen, and palm palm draws in CO2. I think that's one thing that we should consider. Now, going back to the question, right? Is it true that palm oil plantations causes greenhouse gas emissions? Now, what happens here is primarily during the land preparation stage, and this is also very important for us to consider. When it comes to the oil palm planting, it's very important to then identify the land use change. What is the land that will be chosen for the development? For example, if you develop an oil palm plantations on a peatland, definitely you have your GHG emissions, plenty of it, because peatlands are a major source of carbon sink. Yeah, when you have that developed, especially on deep peatlands, you would see GHG emissions. Although I have to add here, although the industry can actually mitigate the GHG emissions from peatlands, because in Sarawak there's quite a number of plantations are being grown on peatlands, and the industry and the government has found a number of ways. For example, the compaction technique to minimize these particular GHG emissions. So on one hand, yes, the choice of land will determine the GHG emissions. That's very important. But on the other hand, we also have mitigations to address this. But let's go back to the land use change again. So if an oil palm plantation is developed on a primary rainforest, these are all tropical rainforests in Malaysia, and these are all rich, again, they're rich carbon sinks. So you would definitely see GHG emissions. But for example, if an oil palm plantation is developed on, say, on a rubber plantation, on a rubber estate, it's basically a conversion, agricultural conversion, then you see less of these GHG emissions. So I think the key for the industries is to then identify what is feasible land for the plantations to develop, so that they can mitigate and minimize the GHG emissions from that particular required stage. The stage when it comes to the land use change. So that's very important. How does palm oil affect rainforests? I'm not sure how I should address that, but at least when it comes to the second question, palm plantation causes GHG emissions. It does, but Also remember, going back to my first answer again, yeah, an oil palm tree is still a tree, yeah, physiological, and you can have plantations to be carbon sinks as well. Because over time, when you have the plantations to be 20, 30 years, yeah, it also plays a role in becoming a carbon sink, just like the forest.
All right, thank you, Mr. Michael. I think next question is for Ms. Yuen. As a student, what skills do we need to have before we start to intern or apply in the palm oil industry?
Yeah. Thank you for this question. It's actually, the skill of a fresh graduate or the final year student actually is good enough. And basically, for the soft skill, you need to be focused, be determined, be hopeful, and be empowered. That's all. You're welcome to apply for the intern or for other application.
All right, thank you. There's a question from Ogi. How advanced are the technologies used in palm oil industry in Malaysia compared to other countries worldwide? What are the plans for the sustainable future of palm oil industry? Maybe either one of you would like to answer.
So I will start from the refinery or the refinery or industry view. We are actually moving into this digitalization, follow this industry 4.0, as well looking into, I also develop this automation, implementing in our daily process.
Okay.
And for the sustainable practice, we did use energy saving program implement in our processing plant. And we also have captured our GHG emission for our products, for both of the palm oil and also laurel products. We set the target and review the target. Also, the company have their own target to bring down the CO2 emission. We plan until the year 2050 with a target.
Okay, thank you. Question. Just this week, there was a news about a confectionery company that stopped purchasing palm oil over forced labor in the palm oil producing company in Malaysia. How did they make this evaluation? Is there a blind spot in the industry that needs to be investigated?
Yeah, I heard about this news for this so-called forced labor issue in the palm oil producing company. Yeah, we did hear about it. And how they make this evaluation actually really need to refer to the person who raised this issue. And is there any blind spot in this industry that needs to be investigated? For this one, actually, we will see, yes, in some cases or some of this incident, they will have some, maybe to say some misunderstanding or miscommunication causing the issue coming up. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Mr. Michael, do you have any opinion on this?
Yes, I was just scrolling through the questions. I may have missed a few questions, but let's go to this particular question now. When it comes to forced labor, it's a very peculiar situation, I must say, because I think this is a reference to the particular Ferrero Rocher statement on the company Ferrero. They stopped purchasing the CSPO, Certified Sustainable Palm Oil, from Sine Darby. Now, it's very peculiar because immediately once this particular statement from Ferrero came about, Sine Darby actually responded that they have not been supplying to Ferrero in a while. So again, I mean, there is a situation of, again, I'm not sure what's happening, but the second comment here, how did they make this evaluation? I believe this is a situation where we have to go back to the previous cases which involve the allegations of forced labor. And this is particularly from the US Customs and Border Protection, US CBP, banning a number of Malaysian products, not confined to the palm oil industry. If you remember, there were also cases that involve the gloves industry. For example, Top Glove, a year back ago. Yeah, so that came up in the news as well. So is there a blind spot? It's not a blind spot in the industry per se, but this matter when it comes to the forced labor allegations, it is much more rooted. Yeah, not within the industry because this is something that the various industries in Malaysia are also affected. What can be said is that number one, when it comes to the procurement process of the foreign workers bringing in labor into Malaysia, things need to be more transparent. Without that transparency, without that openness, there will always be issues and allegations that there are elements of forced labor. So this is the situation where the Malaysian government, the respective ministries, and our counterparts in the foreign countries, those that are supplying the migrant workers to Malaysia, yeah, all needs to actually address this issue. This is something deeply rooted, not within the industry, but across the industry. So any area or sector that employs foreign workers will also be affected if the procurement is not done in a transparent and proper manner. So that's the one. Yeah. Going back to the second question on advances, yeah, in the technology. Again, I would like to bring back the point on GHG emissions and land use. Yeah, I think right now the Malaysian palm oil industry recognizes the importance of reducing our GHG emissions. And this is also because that we are also sharing similar aspirations to decarbonize, yeah, to achieve decarbonization and to have this translated into a situation where we have a net carbon zero goal or target. It is ambitious, but I think the industry is achieving and aspiring to meet this particular goal. So the first thing is to decarbonize. And how do we decarbonize them? Yeah, like what I've mentioned, instead of identifying areas which are forested and you know that they are all rich carbon sinks, how can the industry then move away from exerting more pressure into this is the breeding. In the past, it's always been tissue culture, cloning. Right now, there are quite a number of efforts here to use genomics, to produce superior oil palm planting materials that's able to achieve a better yield. So genomics and is now taken very, very seriously by quite a number of the companies right in Malaysia. So that's one way. The other one is, of course, digitalization. I do agree, yeah, it is the way to go because at the same time, it also reduces our dependency on labor. Yeah, digitalization is indeed how the industry aspires, yeah, in our journey. Same thing with the application of Industry 4.0 technologies. And then finally, there's one more question that I missed earlier. How long does the palm tree need to be planted? Is it costly and needed to wait long period before the next harvest? So generally, when it comes to the cycle, yeah, I mean, we use the term economic cycle. One cycle will be between 20 to 30 years. So this is how long an oil palm tree can be productive. Of course, the oil palm tree can live beyond that, but when it comes to the productivity, generally it's between 25 to 30 years. So that's the cycle before the plantations will require to be planted. Usually that's the case. And if I understand correctly, yeah, the general target for the Malaysian industry to have replanting activities in the country is about 5% annually. So 5% of the total areas in Malaysia will actually undergo replanting processes every year. Is it costly? Yes, it's definitely costly. More for smallholders. I think that again brings me to my slide earlier on how the independent smallholders will require financial assistance as well. It is costly. So this is where the Malaysian government is playing an important role under MPOB in helping giving out subsidies and incentives for the smallholders. And then, yeah, it needed to wait a long period before next harvest. Again, when it comes to replanting, right, it also depends on the market pricing. For example, right now with the market price of CPO being so high, certain companies may want to delay the planting. So there are also effects into that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Michael. Just one last question before we end the Q&A session from us. What are the most crucial parts or process in getting good quality RBDPO?
Yeah, in the physical refining, actually, there are three crucial steps. The first one is degumming, followed by bleaching and deodorization. All three are crucial for this physical refining. For example, in the bleaching efficiency is highly how to say this, affected by this operation factors, which included the contact times, the vacuum, the moisture, and also the temperature. Same for the deodorization, we need to look into the temperature, the vacuum, as well the steam sponging along the deodorization process.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Yeo. I believe that was the last question that marks the end of our Q&A session. Thank you, Ms. Yeo and Mr. Michael, for answering all the questions. Let us now proceed with the photo taking session with our speakers. So all participants are welcome to turn on their webcam so that we can take a picture together. Don't be shy and feel free to open your camera. I'll just wait for a few minutes. Everyone looks so fresh in this afternoon. All right. So thank you so much for opening the camera. Our multimedia will be taking pictures in the count of three. Okay, feel free to do whatever pose you want. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, another picture. 1, 2, 3. Okay, multimedia team take ready, right? Okay. All right, thank you everyone for your cooperation. You can retrieve our group photo from any of our chat social media accounts here. Thank you again, Mr. Michael and Ms. Young. It is a pleasure to have you both as our speakers for today. Thank you for giving us the talk, the virtual site visit, and also answering all of our questions patiently. Let's proceed with the next section. I'm sure all of y'all have learned a lot today, which is why we'll be having a quiz. So don't fret, the prizes are very exciting. Okay, 5 lucky winners from this quiz will win RM50 each. 50 ringgit, you can buy so many sea life or a McD or whatever. So I know it's very exciting. So let's not waste any time and let me just pass the floor to the games department.
Thank you, Fiona, and welcome everyone to the very much anticipated quiz session. Hello everyone, I'm Harish Nath and I will be the game master for today. Today we are going to play a very simple game, which is Kahoot. The rules of this game are simple as well. Just put your name, for instance, Harish or Praveen. Then you can start answering the questions. The questions are all related to the talk just now. So if you paid attention just now, it will be very easy for you to answer all the questions. So then if you are one of the top 5 winners, remember to screenshot your screen for proof and contact us after the event. The contact number will be placed in the chat box. It's very easy. The top 5 winners will be winning RM50 each. You heard it right. The top 5 winners will be receiving RM50 each. Okay, I hope that I've made the instructions clear. If you have any questions, please unmute your mic and you can ask me. Okay, I assume there's no questions, so we can begin. So here's the Kahoot code on the screen. Everyone feel free to join. The game pin is 2744451. Quickly key in the game pin. We will be starting in another 2 minutes. Aren't you all excited to win the 50 ringgit cash prize? Quickly join. There's still people coming in, so I'll just wait for another 1 minute. Okay, I think we have waited long enough. So let's get started with the game. Okay, for the first question, the first sustainability certification scheme for oilseed crops came from the soybean industry, olive oil industry, palm oil industry, canola oil industry. Majority of you all got the answer right. So who's leading? Materials. Wow, materials is leading. What a good name. Okay, second, what does MSPO stand for? Malaysian Sustainable Palm Oil, Malaysian Sustained Palm Oil, Malaysia Sustainable Palm Oil, Malayan Sustainable Palm Oil. This should be a very easy question for you all. Maybe a bonus. Half got it right, half got it wrong. Okay. Unfortunately, Metrel went down and Haley is leading. For the third question, for this question you can answer more than one answers. So name the three main physical refining process steps: degumming, neutralization, bleaching, deodorizing. Actually, the answer for this the speaker mentioned during the Q&A session as well, so it should be easy. Okay. Okay, wow, Haley is still leading the scoreboard. For the fourth question, when was MSPO made mandatory in the Malaysian oil palm industry? 31st December 2017, 31st December 2019, 31st December 2018, 31st December 2020. Oh, Haley is still leading. I think no one is there to cut her position. Get to the next question. What is the most important function of MSPO in the Malaysian palm oil industry? To safeguard the food security in Malaysia, to ensure sufficient production and supply of Malaysian palm oil, to ensure sustainable production of its oil palm and derivatives, to finance the operations of the Malaysian oil palm smallholders. Majority got it right. So who's leading now? Oh, Haley is still leading. Congrats to you. I think you're going to win. Which of the below is not introduced to the MSPO version 2? High biodiversity value, social impact assessment, GHG emission calculation, new planning cutoff date. The faster you answer, the higher your point will be. So don't forget that. Keep that in mind. Oh, many of you got wrong. Oh, finally, there was someone who cut Haley. And don't forget, the top 5 winners will be receiving around 50 each. So try to maintain the top 5 in the scoreboard. What are the 4 mechanisms in palm oil crystallization? Nucleation, accumulation, agglomeration, and attrition. nucleation agglomeration membrane layering and attrition, nucleation crystal growth agglomeration and attrition, nucleation flocculation coagulation and attrition. Okay, to the next question. Now Afif is leading. It's going to be a tough competition, I guess. Below are the functions of MSPO trace, except display certification information for the Malaysian palm oil industry, provide sustainability traceability for Malaysian palm oil and palm product, track processes and transactions in the Malaysian palm oil industry, enabling the use of cryptocurrencies in palm oil transactions. Which is not a weakness under SWOT analysis of MS2530-2013. No new plant cut-off date, no smallholder certification, no high carbon stocks requirement, no GHG emissions reduction targets. Okay, next question. Let's see who's leading. Oh, no one can cut Afif. Okay. How many hectares of land is needed to produce 1 ton of palm oil? 260 hectare, 36 hectare, 0.26 hectare, 2.6 hectare. Oh my God, Shanwelun is leading the scoreboard now. There's only 2 more questions left, and remember, you need to be in the top 5 to win the RM50 prize. Each of the top 5 participants will be winning RM50. So for the second last question, which is known as SDG, clean food and waste management, responsible consumption and production, life on land, partnership for the goals. If you don't know what is SDG, SDG is the Sustainable Development Goals. Most of you got wrong for that. Unbelievable. Okay, for the final question. Oh, Jensu is leading now. Chanwelun to the second. For the last question, try to get as high as possible. Answer as fast as possible. Which are current sources from oil? Which are current sources of oil from plants? All right. Okay, let's see who are the winners. For the third prize, Afif. Wow, you're still on the podium. Second, Yixwan. And for the third one is, who is it? Okay, Jensu. Wow, congrats to 3 of you. And also for the fourth and fifth prize, Chan Wei Lun. And for the fifth prize is it's actually Poda something. I couldn't read your name. Actually, okay. Five of y'all can screenshot your screen and send to the AJKs to claim the prize. So thank you so much for joining the scout session with us. Now I'll pass the floor back to our MC.
All right. Congratulations to all the winners. So just another reminder, top 5 winners, please do screenshot your screen right now and send it to the contact number so that you can claim your prize later. So, okay. However, this is not the end. You still have a chance to win some money. IChemE Top 6 will be holding a post-event report competition where you will stand a chance to win RM200. This is more than the quiz prize. So based on today's event, you will have to write a report on it. You may work individually or in a team. The prize money will be split according to your teammates. For example, if you work in a team of two, both of you will get RM100 each. If you work alone, then you will get RM200 alone by yourself. That's really exciting, right? The due date is on the 4th of May, 2022. And but you can get started right away so you won't forget the details from this event. So just another recap, you just have what you have to do is just write a report and then send it to Pop 6 before 4th of May and you can be eligible to win RM200. A recording of this event will be posted in our test account, so if you need any reference, you may refer to it, so don't miss out. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached to the end of our event for today. Kindly follow our Instagram and Facebook account for more exciting events in the future. Scan the QR code that's going to be placed in our screen right now, or just press the link in the chat box to fill in our feedback and attendance form. It is very important for USM students so that you can get your MyCSE. And on behalf of Exco Academy of CAS, we would like to thank all participants for your time and attention. We hope that you have enjoyed this event as much as we have had organizing it. Until then, see you soon. Thank you everyone and goodbye.